Hey, folks, welcome back to the podcast. This is the Finch Show, and I am James Finch, where we are talking cosplay, 3D printing, and all things nerdy and rad. I've rounded the bases on the Iron Idiots, had Frankly Built on, had Kiera on, had CTK Creations on, and this time, Emily the Engineer is on. She needs absolutely no introduction, but if for some reason you don't know who she is, go over to Instagram, look up Emily the Engineer. It's a fun page. You'll just come along for the ride with us. But I'm going to stop talking. Without further ado, here is Emily. Recording in progress. So that means we're a go. So Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a great honor, pleasure, all that stuff to have you here. If we wanted to start right off the bat, wanted to just like dive right in, is that like I'm sitting here and talking to 2022 Emily, and all these cool things that you've built, some of which are behind you, this big following on social media. But if we were to take the time stone and rewind everything back, do you remember a point in time where you feel like all this kind of started for you?
Yeah, my goodness, as far as the social media side of things, that was the last thing I would have expected to come out of all this. But as far as the building side of things, I made a foam Iron Man suit when I was like 14. Didn't really get into it again until college because I saw a bunch of 3D printers. I was like, think I could make one even cooler with those. Let me try it. And then started printing. I think it was my junior year in college. Bought a printer, made the red suit, and was like, you know what? Like, I saw so many other people on social media after all the years of building, I guess, that I did, because I enjoyed doing it. I never made like a social media account. Like, I had done it for I was interested in this stuff for like 8 years or something. It was like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll make a social media now, like all the way after all that time. And just to hold myself accountable, and like I'll that way I'll actually finish the project. I'll just, made it with no particular idea at all. But then, I got to meet so many other people that did the same thing. That was super cool. All the other Iron Idiots, who are all like my best friends now. And yeah, just from there, posting on TikTok, again, just for fun. And then that turned out really well. It was a lot of blessings after, and you're just kind of like, I was just doing this for fun, dude. Like, I don't know where all this came from, but I'm thankful for it.
Well, that's why it's great, because it's genuine. You know what I mean? I think that's why people enjoy it so much, because it's not like somebody, attempting to do all these crazy things just for the sake of getting followers. It's somebody just like genuinely enjoying what they do. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. I have it on good authority that, going by the name Emily the Engineer, that the engineer part of that is not a moniker, that there's actually like a reason behind that title. Is that right?
I went and got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. So I am I have a degree, I guess. It's funny though, because after I graduated, like the day of my graduation was when my stuff blew up and went viral. I had already had a couple, I think maybe 600,000 on TikTok or so, but the biggest video I've ever had blew up on the day of my graduation. And then from then on out, I just started doing this. And so I was like, well, I've worked as like an engineer, as an intern and a co-op. And so I have engineering experience, but I guess I've never worked as like a full-time engineer, but I have a degree. So
she, ladies and gentlemen, she says that she's never worked as an engineer, as she legitimately sits there with 2 Iron Man suits behind her. Like, I think those look pretty engineered to me, man. Like,
man, they're kind of falling apart, dude. They're I pick on them now. They're my every time I build a new one, the old ones, I'm like, oh, you pieces of trash, I'll like shove them over to the side and stuff like that.
You've been replaced by a younger model. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What made you originally want to do an Iron Man suit, even the original foam one?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because my dad forced me to go see the original Avengers movie with him. Like forced me to go see it. Him and my brother were all into it, and I could not care any less. And I was just like, I don't want to go. And I saw that movie, and I was like, my mind just imploded on itself. And so from that point in 2012, I was hooked. And so I was like, I saw people online like making these Iron Man suits, and I'm like, yo, that's so cool. And I liked working with my hands and stuff. And so I just started like, I looked up how to do it with the foam and stuff like that. That entire summer, it was like raining every day in South Carolina. And so I was like, might as well just have some hobby to do inside. I don't know. And yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. And honestly, I never really like, this is funny. People don't expect it. Like, I never intended for it to be like a cosplay kind of thing. Like, I just like putting stuff together. So, like, the only cosplay I've ever built has been Iron Man. I like building all the other props and stuff like that. But then people are like, oh, you're a cosplayer. I'm like, I guess I wear that. I guess I just like putting stuff together, but it worked out.
Yeah, I think if you wear a full size Iron Man armor that you've made to a con, that makes you a cosplayer.
I think so. Yeah, it's like I just never thought about it that way. I was like, yeah, I guess I am. I don't know, just this one thing, but sure.
Were you into nerdy stuff prior to going to see the first Avengers?
Honestly, I don't even know what I was into. How old was I? 13, 14? Probably playing Minecraft. I don't know what I was doing. So that was probably the first point where I was like I know I was probably into like the Power Rangers and all this stuff. Like that was definitely the first like comic, yo, this is really cool kind of thing for me.
And the Avengers did it. What, 2012 that came out?
Yeah.
Wow. It's already been 20 years.
20. Oh, 10. Wait,
no,
right?
10. Yeah.
10.
See, this
is what I was like, wait, I'm 23.
No. This is what happens when you get old. It's like, sometimes it's like I'll talk to people and they'll be like so excited. They're like, man, I remember going to see the first Iron Man movie in theaters, and I was 7 years old, and my dad took me, and I'm like, oh, I was already like 28 came out. Is it? Oh, that's so yeah. The fact that I just messed up on the decades, you could have told me it was 30 years ago, and I'd be like, oh wow, really? Okay, that's crazy. Cool. So the engineering degree that you went for, did that sort of evolve for you from, like you said, liking to put stuff together?
I'd say so. I had my dad was always willing to show me how to like use tools and do stuff like that. And then I also, in high school, it was funny. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of like, I was just floating back and forth between a lot of things. I had a physics teacher who was like, you should be an engineer. And he like got me signed up for these like different events and stuff like that. And projects where I could put stuff together. And so he definitely encouraged it and pushed it for me. And I mean, I enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, I guess I enjoy it. I guess he's right. Maybe I should try this. And so between him and my dad, they were definitely, they kind of helped me figure out kind of what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you went into the college, was it like you say you want to go for an engineering degree? Did you have like plans, like what it is you would want to work on after college, or what kind of area you wanted to be into?
When I first went in, honestly, I was probably thinking like of just big name brands. Like I know aerospace stuff interested me. And so I was like, oh, Boeing would be cool, stuff like that. But then the further I got into it, I did a manufacturing co-op at a company that makes like car parts and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed it. And um I liked troubleshooting that. I liked being able to like figure out stuff myself. They were very big on that. I'd ask my mentor, I was like, how should I do this? He's like, figure it out. And I'm like, at first I was like, and then I was like, okay, he's right. I gotta figure, I'm not gonna be able to do this later in life if I don't figure it out now. But yeah, after I went through that manufacturing co-op, I was like, actually, this is kind of cool. I was hoping to go into something like that. And then obviously COVID hit at just the perfect time. And so plans got all switched up. But yeah.
Yeah. So Clemson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How'd that happen? That was your backup school, I'm taking it, right?
No.
No.
You want to know something that's like, I tell people this, but I tell people don't do what I did. Don't big no. Small brain move on my part. I only applied to Clemson. Because my family grew up going to Clemson. I grew up a big Clemson fan. My dad went, like, our entire family, they were like super big on Clemson. And I wanted, at that point when I was like, yeah, I want to do engineering, I was like, duh, Clemson. I want to go to Clemson. And so like, and then I started to apply to some like backups, like some more local schools as like a backup and stuff like that. And I just got through it. I'm like, even if I got accepted, like, would I even want to go to one of these? Like, I'm going to pay the application fee and I know I don't want to go. But I tell people now that was stupid. I should have applied to a backup school, but it was by God's grace that I got accepted into the one I applied to. But yeah, the plan was, I think I had maybe a couple of years where I was like, oh, what if I try to go to MIT or like, like I had a couple of years where I was like, and then towards the end I was like, I want to go to Clemson. So, but yeah.
And Clemson it is.
Yep.
Yeah. This is the first time on this podcast, this podcast, as long as I've been doing it, I have become known for wearing the backwards Cubs hat. For this one, I had to wear my Notre Dame hat. I noticed that. So for those of you who are a sports fan, the ACC is representing right now. So we are here. Yes. All joking aside, though, Clemson's a really great school. I mean, it is a fantastic college. I have never been to campus there. But from the stuff that I've, just seeing, like, whenever they have like the games and they have to like do the aerial shots of the campus, it looks like an absolutely beautiful school.
We love it. And we're like kind of reluctant. My husband wants to go to grad school and he's debating whether or not he wants to go to Clemson or go to another grad school elsewhere. And like, cause we're still like in the general area kind of thing. And it's like, dude, it's kind of hard to leave. It's like, it's pretty, summers in Clemson when the students are gone too, are somehow like, they hit just right. They're really nice. So we're like taking walks everywhere. And we're like, oh, we don't know if we want to leave. It's kind of nice.
What's the like weather like there in the summer? Because I remember I passed through years ago. I drove from Boston to, I believe, all the way down to Orlando, and it was like in July, and I remember like everywhere from like Virginia all the way down. I remember just how ungodly hot and humid it was, which isn't that much different here in the Midwest, except for the fact that I think we have it fewer months out of the year. But is that typically what it's like there?
Yeah, humidity is definitely a thing. It's all my friends that have come from like the West Coast over here, like, I'm swimming. Yeah. Why am I swimming? This is great. So like I've grown up in that weather though, so I'm kind of used to it, but it helps like with the lake being nearby. We get like a good bit of like wind and breeze if you're like hanging out by the lake. And so generally if you're over there, it feels pretty nice. But yeah, it is definitely toasty. It can definitely get toasty for sure.
That's something you always have to prepare yourself for. I have the same thing where I have friends from like the West, especially the like Southern California, who come visit where they have like zero humidity. and they'll come here in
Yeah.
like July and August, and it's like you shower, put on clothes, step outside, and 30 seconds later there's sweat running down your face.
Mhm.
Like, when it hits that level of humidity, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know. The Iron Man armors, which I love, and I'm like sort of like in awe because of the fact that I have done nothing close to that. And every time I see anybody's suits, like especially yours or Frank's or Kiera's, I'm just like, oh my God. So I guess to begin that story, we have to begin like we talked about the foam, but you said it was in college that you got into 3D printing.
Yeah, it was probably my junior year. I bought my first printer. Our school had a maker space. So Clemson has their maker space where you can go and print whatever you want for free. Most people obviously, if they're using it for like class purposes, you kind of let them do what they got to do, but like if there's a free printer and no one's using it, people are just printing whatever, you know what I mean? And because they would just let you use whatever for free. And so I think I remember I printed like a glove or something like that. And I was like, it's kind of cool. And then I printed a helmet and I was like, this is kind of cool. And I was like, I gotta get me one of these. And I did. And then I guess
Here you
all of
are.
that ensued.
What was your first printer?
CR10.
Oh, okay.
Just a stock CR10, which after having it for like 3.5 years, I just now replaced the extruder. I've had the stock extruder on it for like that long, but he's been going. His name is Roger. He's been chugging along all these years.
That's hilarious that you said that, because one of the questions I've asked people on this podcast is, do you name your printers? And I've gotten everything from like, yeah, I do, to like people give the weird looks like, no, it's a machine. And I'm like, you don't name it, it doesn't love you
Like a
back.
car kind of
right?
thing.
Yeah. So why is it named? What do you say, Roger?
Roger. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just I've only named like the first two I've had, and then after like companies started sending me more, I was like, I don't remember all of them. So there's like two of them that have names. That's about it.
Oh, okay. I don't know about you. I'm a big fan of The Office.
Yeah. Oh, I like
And
The Office. Yeah.
the three that I've got running right now all have names, and it worked because my sister for my birthday a couple of years ago gave me this like stack of like The Office stickers of like different sayings and characters. So my Sovol 01 is Pam because it's reliable. It just does what it's supposed to do. My Sovol 03 is Dwight. It's a little bit more particular and it can get finicky about stuff. And then my CR10 Max is Jim because it's big tuna. Like that's
funny. I love that.
And the first time, my wife still laughs every time I mention, because the first time I told her that's what it was called, I just happened to tell her that like right when she was taking a sip of coffee, and she like and then and now she's been mad at me. Now she laughs every single time I say that, but she still says she's mad at me, but I don't believe it's true. How many printers you got running right now?
Like running, or just how many do I have?
Yeah.
I think I've got 11 or 12. I've given some away actually to like my high school back home. Like I gave them some because I was running out of space, because I don't have a garage. I'm just kind of in a apartment townhouse kind of deal. And so I've got like just one like small bedroom dedicated to like the printers. And I was like, there's no room, somebody take them. And so I gave them to the school because they seemed pretty hyped about it. They didn't have anything. And but yeah, they're I would love to have more, but it's like at this point it's kind of like, no, I don't think I physically can.
Yeah. Space does become an issue with those really quick. I got fortunate. The house that my wife and I bought, God, I think like 10 years ago or something like that. The guy who originally built this house in the 50s did woodworking as a hobby. And he built this really elaborate wood workshop in the basement that's got like dozens of drawers, like dozens of power outlets everywhere, a solid wood workbench that's, I want to say, is like 14 feet long. And
so nice.
I know. And it's funny because the whole time we've lived here, we just use it for storage. Like I keep my toolbox and stuff down there, but it was a little over a year ago when I started getting into 3D printing. I was like, I went from having one printer upstairs in the living room to two. And then once I got the third one, my wife's like, really?
We gotta put these somewhere.
Right. So cleared out that whole area. Now I've just got like 5 printers down there all together. And yeah, I don't know if that guy, if you were to go back in time and tell him, be like, yeah, the guy who's going to own this house is going to use this as a 3D printing workshop. He'd be like, what witchcraft is this? That is one of the bizarre things about 3D printing is that for folks who've listened to this podcast know, being 42 years old, I graduated from high school in 1998. In 1998, 3D printing was science fiction. Like it wasn't an actual, I think the military used it and it was mostly theoretical, I think. Mm-hmm. So when I like get into 3D printing and I start talking to other people I know, people who are like in their like 20s or something, they're like, oh yeah, I had a class on that in high school. I'm like, what?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, that seems, and then, I guess, that actually does make sense that they would have that. But that's just showing kind of like the level of popularity and how much it's grown since it first came to be. Do you remember a point in time where like 3D printing went from something that you thought was cool looking to taking over your life?
Yes. The past 3 years or so. But yeah, no, because I remember seeing actually when I was looking to build, I think it was like another foam Iron Man suit, because like I wanted to do it again. I just wanted to put something together again. And that was like a cool thing to do. It like you end up with something cool if you did it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So I was like, man, some of these people, they're 3D printing these. There's no way I can afford one of those though. Like I remember like the point where it was like, they were thousands of dollars. Say like even the point where in our makerspace, they had like a bunch of like Lulz bots, and those are like pretty pricey. And of course, I'm not looking at any like brands like Creality or anything, or so like I'm looking up how much is a Lulz bot, and I'm like, no, I can't pay that. But yeah, I think after that point where I got used to printing in that makerspace, and I found like brands like Creality that were a lot more expensive or a lot less expensive, I was like, I can do this now. Like that was, I'm glad they became user or very affordable, because at that point I was really wanting one, but was not about to drop like $2,000 on one.
Yeah, they definitely changed. And I mean, that's good. Like I remember, I think randomly, maybe in like 2010, 2011, I remember looking, I wonder, how much one of those 3D printers even costs. And it was one of those things where you typed it into Google and immediately shut your phone off. You're like, nope.
Yep.
Once you saw the amount, you're like, nope. And then it was like, yeah, just a couple of years ago, I realized like there's like a whole market for these things now that are affordable and desktop. And obviously that contributes to, I think, like we're going through like a renaissance of cosplay, I feel right now, because of the affordability of 3D printers and the amount of people are getting into them. The stuff that I like, there's not a day, I don't know if you feel this way, there's like not a day that goes by on Instagram where I'm not blown away by something I see.
Yeah. Oh no, people are like, it's wild. Number one, at the rate people are picking it up. Like, because I remember like if you look close to that red suit, I did not sand that thing well. Like I was like, oh, sure, good enough. Here's some paint, but like you look at some of these people and it's like, oh, this is my first suit. And you're like, where are the layer lines? Where are the seams where you glued the plastic or melted the plastic together? Like there's so much information now that people have figured out and they put on the internet that it's, and thankfully it's all really accessible, so that people are able to, pick it up pretty quick. It's really impressive. I've seen people's first builds come out 10 times better than anything like I've made. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong, man?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's at times it's inspiring and deflating at the same time. There are times where like I'll be working, I'm like, man, that looks really good. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break here, and then I turn on Instagram and I'm like, I gotta up my game. Like just right there. Yeah. Like I thought I looked pretty good 30 seconds ago. But yeah, some of the people, you're right. Like I I can't even sometimes. I'm just like, and some of the modelers like Walsh out there, who's
Oh my
just like
gosh.
cranking out beautiful stuff, modeling all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I said this in the last podcast or I don't remember, but anyway, I'm like, that guy needs to slow down because every time he like pumps something
He
awesome, I'm like, I got to print that thing. And then
he
before I can
loves
even
it.
get to it, apparently,
Oh,
like,
I mean, I was talking to him last night. He's just talking about like he loves I mean, that's what he like. He thrives off of it, man.
mhm.
He's all into it, and it's so great. We've built like a little, community of like of people that, follow Walsh's work, people that follow me, like, and it's kind of like if Walsh makes something cool, he's like, "Hey, you like this?" I'm like, "It's pretty cool." And like, we'll help each other out, and he's genuinely one of the coolest people in the modeling community, building community. He's done it so quick too. He's wild. Like he picked up Blender a year ago, and now
Yeah.
he's like he's wild.
Yeah. He posted that on Instagram this morning. Yeah. I just started this a year ago. And I'm like, like as good a stuff as he's putting out, like you tell me you weren't working on that in the womb, like you weren't already like figuring out how
It's
to model these things. Cause man,
I've been in a bind at some point, and I've been like, "Hey Walsh, like, how long would it take you to model this?" And he's like, 2 seconds, and it's like, uh, it's wild. He's
yeah,
crazy.
he's on my list of people to get on this
You
show
should,
for
you
sure,
should. He's
for
fun.
sure. Like I said, yeah, the amount of times I get so frustrated because like I said, he makes something and I'm like, that's awesome. And I'll download the file and I'll start to print it. And then the next day he's like, oh yeah. And then there's this. And you're like,
Version 2.
yeah. Like, man, like
Yeah.
put down the Adderall and chill, man. You're like, but it is awesome. The stuff and not just him. I mean, there's a ton of modelers who turn out, some really great stuff.
Yeah.
I keep saying this over and over on the podcast, but I feel like they're the unspoken heroes who are like the backbone of the 3D printing industry that don't get enough credit. They're like
Yeah.
the really, really, really good linemen on a football team where
Yeah.
nothing happens without them, and yet people don't even know their names half the time, and that's too bad.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, we've seen like bigger companies like doing what they're doing. Like they started with the inner details and stuff on the inside of Iron Man helmets. And all of a sudden you see every other modeling company putting inner details on their Iron Man helmets. You're like, I wonder why they thought of that.
yeah, got to stay competitive, right?
Yeah.
It's the old thing about the tech industry is like it doesn't matter how big a company you are, you can be put out of business tomorrow by a guy in his basement or
Yeah.
girl. I'm not trying to be sexist, but yeah, for sure. So when you first decided to start doing the Iron Man suit, and it like came to time to like run all the wiring and all that kind of stuff, did you was that something that you kind of brought your background into, or is there like a learning curve for that as well?
I'd say there was definitely a learning curve like the first time you do it. Honestly, every time you do it, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, because every time if it's different, it's gonna be hard. But the first time I did it, I remember definitely spending longer trying to get the helmet right. As far as motorizing and stuff like that goes. As far as like we had freshman year, we had these things called soldering nights. We lived in a science and engineering residence hall. And so they would have like little Arduino projects for you to go work on and solder and stuff like that. And so I was confident in my ability to like solder things together, stuff like that. And I mean, I found basically beginner code on the internet and just kind of edited it, right? Um, so I was able to get by, but it was definitely difficult the first time you do it because you're like, sure, this goes with this goes with that. I took maybe one electrical course, being a mechanical, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how much I learned in it. So, um, but yeah, after you do it the first time, the second time I was like, okay, this is easier. And now with things like Crashworks, who have like basically standardized motorizing an Iron Man helmet and different things like that, like they've got these cool boards where you basically don't have to have any programming experience whatsoever. And so on my last Heartbreaker suit, they were super cool, helped me out just kind of with the different with the motorization on the helmet and the shoulder flaps and the lights on the back. And they helped me out with the programming on that side because I was like, this one's a little outside of my expertise here. And but yeah, definitely takes some learning to get into, but people like them have made it pretty accessible for people just getting into it for sure.
That is a heck of a sign of just like, and I struggle with it all the time. Like, do we call it a community? I mean, we really wouldn't call it an industry. It feels kind of, I don't know, a hobby. I don't know. I've never quite been able to come up with the right definition because I feel like hobby or, almost feels diminutive, but it's kind of an industry, but it's not like people are industrializing. So I don't know. But anyway, it's a great group of people. And it's definitely a sign of like how huge it's become that you've got, people who can make a living making programming and boards, for people to automate their Iron Man suits and stuff. So that's really fantastic. I had heard Danny had said that it was when you were working on your first one was when you kind of reached out to him and you guys first met.
Yeah, I can't. Oh gosh, it was at the end of the first. Well, me and him have known each other for so long now. It's so funny how like you meet these people on Instagram and then like a year later, like you're all like actually best friends in real life. Like I'd say like most of what we talk about now, definitely most of what we talk about is not about building stuff. Like, we obviously still talk about it because like that's what kind of brought us together and stuff. But like now we're all at the point where like, want to play Minecraft later? Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Like, and so I think we started talking and hanging out. Like we made, I think, our Discord, our Iron Legion Discord. I think we all started maybe towards the beginning of when I was making the blue one. I think I had just finished making the red one and was going to start the blue one. But yeah, it's been so wild. Just like, and also like being friends while we've each like grown too. That's been crazy because all of us, when we became friends and just started hanging out, like none of us had like followers or anything. I think I had 800 followers on Instagram. Like no one had blown up. No one had done it. Like we just all were like genuinely like really good friends and would play games and hang out and stuff like that. And so we've gotten to see each person like have a video blow up or succeed in this way or things like that. So it's been super cool.
Well, that's how, like I, said earlier, it's kind of like how, it's genuine, because the fact you became friends, not because, oh, hey, you've got, 150,000 followers. You want to be my friend? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got a microphone that has just now all of a sudden decided that it wants to detach itself. So
oh no,
I think I've had it on here for too long without tightening it is the problem. So that's really awesome. What made you decide to go with the blue suit? I mean, I think it looks amazing, but what was the idea behind that?
Honestly, I had made the red one and I was like, I kind of want to make like a custom one. And it's so funny because everyone's like, oh, it's rescue. You made rescue. And I was like, honestly, it's just a Mark 7. I just painted it blue because I like the color blue. It's just kind of one of those because I could things. And everyone's always like, what? Why would you? I'm like, I just kind of wanted to. I don't really have a good explanation for it. I don't know. I just like the color blue. The Mark 7's probably my favorite armor. I think I might actually redo it soon. Because again, when I did that one, I feel like now looking back on it, I'm like, I can do a lot better. So I might actually redo it and go back and revisit it. We'll see.
I like it. Well, I love the Heartbreaker one. Like that one is just so cool to me. Was there any particular reason that made you decide you wanted to do that suit?
That one, that was definitely my favorite one from Iron Man 3. Yeah, I don't know. He just looks like a tank. And I'm like, I like that. It looks so cool. The big arc reactor in the center and everything like that. So it was definitely my favorite suit from that movie or from the entire like Iron Legion set of suits and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, we're going to do this one. And surprisingly, it's my most mobile suit that I've had so far, and it's supposed to be like the tankiest one.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Is a lot of that just from learning over the course of time of wearing them to different cons and, beginning to make modifications to it based on movement and being able to get around?
I will. There's a lot of that. Granted, I haven't been to many conventions. I really haven't. But just as far as like knowing, oh, hey, like I even know like if I rebuild that one, I have like a whole list of like, actually, I want to do this, I want to do that one. Like you learn like, oh, because I hinged these two things together right at this point, I can't move. Like I shouldn't do that again. And like, and then yeah, certain things like that, harnessing setups, like you have like a harness with certain things attached, you learn, oh, this works better if I attach it this way, like I can move much better. Yeah, a lot of it is like learning, which is why I feel like each suit got more mobile as I built it.
Mhm.
Um, for sure, definitely a learning kind of thing.
Just like Iron Man's actual suits. They got
Sure,
better as the movies
yeah.
progress as he learned. Like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that lost me that last battle, so I'm going to change it for this one. Cool. The well, that's I had so much fun when you guys were all at WonderCon. Like just as the
Oh,
days
yeah.
went on, following all you guys on Instagram and getting to see all the Insta stories and the pictures, and it looked like an absolute. I think probably there were a lot of us who were like vicariously living through. Oh my god, that is so awesome! What does wasn't it an experience like that? Not just like going to a con dressed as Iron Man, but with a group of Iron Men. I don't know.
Yeah,
It becomes anyway, what's that like?
it was so fun. It was so fun. After that, everyone was saying like it doesn't get too much better than that because like we're all uh we're all exhausted together, right? Kids are coming up like, can I take a picture with you? And you're like, yes, yes, you can. Like fighting through the pain because it's like really cute kid, and you're like, yes, you can. And taking pictures was fun. At some point, it's funny. A lot of this centers around like how each of us is in like a slight amount of pain. But after we all set records that day for how long we had worn our suits. I think me and Kiera wore ours for 5, and Danny and Frank wore theirs for 6 hours, and we were exhausted. But at one point, I don't know if Danny like talked about this, but his suit it was a statue that he turned into a wearable suit,
Yeah.
and so it weighs like 70 something pounds. It's giant. He's like wobbling everywhere. It's just he toughs it out so well. And but that morning he decided, I'm gonna put a speaker in my suit. And so he put like a speaker in his suit, and by the time we're all like ready to go back to the hotel because we're exhausted, Danny goes, wait, and turns to my husband and is like, here, play music through this, and hands him the phone, and like starts playing party music, like, and it brought us all back to life immediately. Like that was just probably one of the most fun moments ever, was all of us just dancing in Iron Man suits, like in pain but having fun. It was,
Is that the video that was on Instagram of you guys
oh,
dancing? Was that from that?
oh yeah,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
great.
It was it was so much fun. We all just like instantly forgot about the fact that we were exhausted. We're like, let's do it again. It's funny.
That is so cool. It looked like it was such an amazing experience. How many people usually attend though WonderCon?
I have no idea. I'm not the person to ask on
Okay.
that. I really don't know because I've only been to like 4 conventions or something like that. I haven't been to many.
Mm-hmm.
I've worn the suit to 2 of them, maybe 3 or 4. Either way, I haven't been to too many of them. But I don't know. There were a good many people there, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Especially, I think was it the first 2 days or the last 2 days? I don't know, but um,
Yeah, it looked crazy. It looked like it was just like a mob of people there. Like,
yeah.
oh wow. The so other than you said you wanted to revisit Blue, do you have any other big projects in mind going forward that you'd love to tackle someday?
See, that's hard because I like it's hard because I'm known for the Iron Man stuff, but I definitely want to like venture outside of it and maybe make because I just like building stuff, not necessarily like it doesn't even have to be cosplay related, like just like building something. Um, so I've thought about I'll give you I don't know if this is actually going to end up being a video, but I think it would be really funny. I want to try to do a video on a life-size benchy. Like I want to like 3D print a life-size benchy boat and try to like put it in the water and see if it floats and stuff like that. See if I can climb it. Like I'm thinking like not I know this is like not cosplay related at all, but like I'm thinking kind of along the lines of like how far can I push 3D printing and see what kind of comes from that. So I've got a couple like weird, silly, stupid projects like that in mind. Um, and then as far as like some more of the cosplay stuff goes, I don't know. I've got that suit on my mind right now, and that's going to take a hot minute because Walsh and Vec 3D, they're both modeling it, and I think maybe Joe, I don't know, but they're all like modeling this new suit, and it's all the things they're doing on it. It's gonna take me a hot minute to get through, so I'm trying not to like think of too many things ahead of that because I know if I it's like okay, I gotta focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, it turns into a squirrel situation, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've done that to myself so many times.
Yeah, my wife is always teasing me about it as I end up with like a shelf of like unfinished helmets because I'll get one printed out, get it PLA welded, and then I'll get primer on it. And then I'm like, ooh, shiny object. I'm working on this.
Yep.
And I just get stuff that just collects in corners. And I'm like, eventually I'm like, okay, it's been 6 months that's been sitting there with primer on it. Should I do something with it? I'd imagine in terms of what you're saying, in terms of stretching 3D, I'd imagine if the infill was high enough, you could probably, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to pull that off. It all come down to wall thickness, don't you think?
For what
For the boat?
For the boat? Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I have put like zero thought into this. I'm just like, I'm gonna print a boat and I'm gonna see if it floats. I don't know. I've got a couple other random ideas too, just like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the boat's gonna float. I don't know if the boat's gonna sink. I don't know if where I weld the pieces together, if that's gonna hold. Maybe I coat it with Flex Seal or something like the guy in the commercial.
Yeah.
I really don't.
But it works on a screen door. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
I keep hoping one day that the Iron Idiots are going to announce that you've decided to combine your efforts and build a Hulkbuster. I keep waiting.
That's the dream, dude.
That would be. Yeah, that would be, especially if it like you've built one big enough that it took all four of you to pilot at once. I mean, that'd be like a Voltron situation, like all coming together. I think it's destiny. I ultimately think it is. So, so outside of 3D printing, outside of all the stuff that you do you have any other hobbies, things that you're into that people would go, "What, really?"
Oh gosh, it's so hard because that's like become my life for the past year. Yeah, I don't lame, no more hobbies besides 3D printing. Yeah, I mean, I'm married, and so me and my husband we like hanging out with friends, whether it be going on hikes or playing board games, video games with other people and stuff like that together. I don't know. We're big Clemson fans. Clemson games, pretty fun. I don't know.
All right.
Maybe we're just lame.
Yeah.
One hobby. One hobby.
Just one hobby, which is like an awesome time-consuming hobby.
It is time-consuming. For sure.
Speaking of which, it cracks me up that I'm like I made really wanted to wear the Notre Dame shirt for this podcast, and I do have your 3D printed dad shirt that I wore for another podcast. I love that shirt so much. Like I remember I bought it when it came in the mail. I opened it up, my wife looked at it and said, "If there was ever a more accurate shirt for you, it's that one." And I'm like, Yes, yes, it is. Folks, if you want one, definitely go check it out because I think they're really cool. I get comments on it out in public. So people will be like, what was it? I'm like, oh, it's like 3D printing. They're like, oh, okay, all right. But
Oh man, I love that.
I think it's really great, especially coming from somebody who doesn't have kids, which I think it's just
Yeah.
like hella cool. And we need to get. Oh yeah, that reminds me, we need to get Brittany one. Brittany wants to get a 3D printed dad one. I don't remember what color she wanted it in, but she wants one really bad. So I might have to place an order on her behalf to get one out to her because I think that would just be like boss if she was wearing that shirt.
Yes. I love it. Because that's what people were when I got married. As soon as you get married, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like people are like, so when are you having kids? And I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm like 23.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not planning on having a child anytime soon. And so I always said, oh, my printers are my kids.
Yeah, that's right.
They make noise, right? They make a mess. It checks all the boxes. Might as well just
makes you pull your hair out, gives you gray. Yeah, 100%. Like I don't know why it is I have 3 kids and then decided to get 5 printers on top of it. Like, I'm going to look like I'm 90 in about a year and a half. I promise you. So as he goes by on Instagram, Jonathan, the husband,
yes.
Where'd you meet him?
At Clemson. We met,
okay.
We met freshman year. Actually, we had like some friends in common, and then sophomore year started hanging out more with just each other and, been together since, I guess.
Been together. You just had a wedding anniversary recently, didn't you?
Yeah, in March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Here's something that I love to ask people who are because I think this is a really important part of it, is that as we talk about like 3D printing and that kind of stuff, we are dealing with a slew of people in a good way, I think, who are getting into this every day. There is more and more people who are getting into this, and I think it's great. I encourage it 100%. But coming from yourself as somebody who's been in this for a while and has clearly had success with it, what advice do you have for the newbies just picking it up?
Yeah, what I tell people is like, don't be afraid when something breaks. Get your hands dirty. Because I know too many people who have like started 3D printing and they're like, oh, it just didn't work. And so I never went back to it. And I'm like, no. Like, dude, like, look it up on the internet. Guaranteed someone else has had the same problem. It's fixable. I promise you. Like, unless, I don't know, something just imploded. I don't really know. But like, it's don't be afraid when something goes wrong, because that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just, it gives you an excuse to maybe open up the printer, check it out, learn more about it, and fix it. So, yeah,
it's 100% true. I try and tell people it is a humbling hobby, because like the amount of failures you have to go through, but from every single one of those failures you learn. I was there.
Right.
I was there. At one point in time, like a year ago, I was just like, I got a printer and I'm like, this thing is crap. Like, is it a lemon? Did they send me a bad machine? Because I kind of assumed, it's an appliance. It's like a microwave. You get it out of the box, you plug it in, and it does its thing. And if it wasn't for what I think had originally been my introduction to the greater world at all, has been Frank's videos. Like, I just Googled something and one of Frank's YouTube videos came up, and then I just like went down the rabbit hole and like, oh, okay. And now that's one of the great things I've discovered, especially on social, especially like Instagram. Like, there are so many people, like, you can just pose a question and people are so nice, so generous with their time and just saying, oh, it's probably this, make sure you check this. And then one thing that made you feel like you were going to pull your hair out, by the next day, you've got it operating again and everything's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and honestly, that's how I got to know like some of my friends, is like, asking Danny, because I know Danny worked on he taught classes, he had a printer shop and all this stuff. And I was like, hey, so what happens if it makes this sound and sends video of printer like dying? And he's like, oh yeah, just do that, So like, I know people are more than happy to help with stuff, and there's 99% of time there's always a solution, and it's pretty feasible. So yeah.
Agreed. Well, we are getting up against the clock here. I cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I had to like round the bases of the Iron Idiots now. This was the coming home, So I can now officially say not only have I had all of you on, and hopefully as time moves forward, I can have some of you guys on again. That would be really, really great.
Yeah.
But for yourself, I will once again wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much, and go Irish.
I agree with all that except for the last one. Thanks so much for having me on, though.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll reach out to you again in the future.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks, dude.
Okay, so that was the episode with Emily the Engineer. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun talking to her. I want to thank each and every one of you out there for liking, subscribing, all those things that help this thing grow. I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, I want to say I love all you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll talk to you next time.